So let me jump straight into it. We take first 3 minutes of each speaker to give a short thesis on this question. Are we fascinated by evil characters because they make life more exciting? Terry, you have the floor first.
Why is evil so sexy? Why so glamorous? Why is everybody talking about Gothic? Why does the devil have all the best tunes? Why would everybody want to share a whiskey with Fagin rather than an orange juice with Oliver Twist? Yeah? Well, I think the short answer to that is that evil becomes sexy when virtue becomes boring. And that's a historical matter. In the 16th and 17th centuries, with the rise of Puritanism and the middle classes in general, the middle classes are always rising, virtue is redefined as thrift, prudence, temperance, chastity, and so on. Now, in the light, since nobody wants to be good in that way, if that's what good means, you don't want to be it, then that's the moment when evil becomes glamorous. It's a historical matter because it wasn't always true. If you look at certain ancient thinkers, if you look at the greatest theologian perhaps of all time, Thomas Aquinas, for Aquinas, virtue, being good, is exciting and exuberant, and it's the way you flourish, and it's the way you express energy, and evil is lack, deprivation, nothingness, negativity, an inability to be fully alive, an inability to flourish. It's flashy, but it's phony, it's empty, it's boring. Evil is paper thin and without depth, and it's boring. So there's a whole turnaround historically, which ushers in the modern epoch. Aquinas thinks that being is good in itself. Creation is good. It's good that there are squirrels and telegraph poles and razor blades and glasses of water around the place. That is good. The demonic is that which is anti-creation, which is dedicated to reducing creation back to chaos. It's a reversal of creation, back to a kind of pure nothingness. And purity is very seductive, not least for fascists. And there's nothing more pure than absolute nothingness. The demonic is a kind of anti-creation, yes. It scoffs at human meaning and value, at the pretentious way in which we take our meanings and values so seriously. It's deeply cynical and nihilistic. It's Iago in the face of Othello, yeah? And it desires nothing more than to debunk and dishonor and deflate the petty pretensions of humankind. That's why the demonic is a kind of sniggering and cackling, as it is in the greatest modern novel about evil, Thomas Mann's Dr. Faustus. The demonic wants to smash all that. It wants to return us to the pure nihilism, nothingness, and it wants, moreover, precisely, to do that purely as an end in itself, not for any instrumental reason, but, to use a theological term, just for the hell of it. Yes, just for the hell of it. And that's one reason why evil is extraordinarily rare, thank God. It's very rare, because most wickedness is instrumental. You're wicked, you're immoral, for certain purposes, right? Evil is that very, very strange kind of wickedness which is in it just for the game, which wants just to destroy as an end in itself. And having summoned up, that incidentally is connected with Freud's death drive, to reduce everything to nothing, what some people call obscene enjoyment. And having summed up the whole of evil, I will now either leave or maybe...
We'll get back in a second. So, Susan, I'm sure you dare venture into other aspects of evil.
Well, yes, but not without saying that Terry Eagleton just showed why I agreed to take part in yet another discussion of evil, because Terry Eagleton was going to be part of it. I find him always both eloquent and deep, and sick as I am of the subject. I mean, look at this. I basically agree with everything you said, but I want to go in a slightly different direction. Look at this. I was in the discussion about sex that took place just before this. It was full, but it wasn't this full. This is standing room only. And it's interesting to think about the way Christianity's puritanical views about sex may have put the sex into evil. I'm not sure that that's the case. One of the reasons I love Pope Francis, you think I'm going on a tangent, but I'm not. I'm a Jew, by the way, but I love Pope Francis because every single religion is made up of a set of moral commandments. One has to do with, who you sleep with and how often and what parts of your body you cover. And the other has to do with how you treat widows and orphans and the poor. And it's normally a mishmash of both of those things. And I think Francis has separated those two so that sex is just not part of morality in the same way that concerns for the weak and the poor are. And I think that's a great service. If it takes some of the sex out of evil, that's an additional service. I've come to think, in thinking about this question, that the reason we like focusing on evil is actually a really bad one. It's to steer our focus away from the real sources of evil, which are what Hannah Arendt called banal. That is, they're not the things that are done with evil intention. They're not the things that are done with a pure wish to annihilate simply for the hell of it. They're things like climate change, which take place actually without too many people intentionally meaning to damage anything whatsoever. And if you look at cases of genocide, the sorts of things that are traditionally looked at in cases of evil, you'll also find very few people in Germany were genuinely interested in murdering babies and old men. That's not what they signed on for. They signed on for other reasons, and it's very important to look at that. So I think that we like to focus on these sensationalist characters because it keeps us from focusing on the evil that we should really be worrying about, which is that which takes place without anybody's terrible demonic attentions.
Thank you very much. And then we have... And Stephen, what's your take on the question?
I don't largely disagree with what's been said here, which is a bit boring in a debate, of course. I promise to disagree a little bit later on. What I want to do right now is just give you a different way of thinking about this, and I come from it not as a literary theorist, not necessarily as a historian, but as an analytical philosopher.
I'm a philosopher, by
Philosopher, sorry, no philosopher. And the question is, why are we fascinated by evil? Well, first of all, I'd like to make a distinction. Philosophers always make distinctions. And the first distinction I want to make is between evil persons and evil acts, because I think they're quite distinct. They're related in some way, but they are distinct. You can have evil persons who don't commit evil acts, and you can have evil acts that are committed by non-evil persons. So why are we fascinated with evil, and evil persons in particular? Well, I think the fascination is really a way of expressing our sense of horror at what these people are doing. Why is that? Because we all live in structures, in societies, we all live and depend on other people to have the kind of lives that we have. Our well-being is dependent on other people behaving in certain kinds of ways towards us. That's the basis of morality, it's the basis of manners, those kinds of issues are very important to us. And we know that there are certain things that people can do that will make our lives intolerable, will make any decent life impossible, no matter what it is that you think your life should be. Why would it be impossible? Because, as Stuart Hampshire, one of the great moral philosophers, pointed out, there are certain things called the great evils.
For more debates, talks and interviews, subscribe today to the Institute of Art and Ideas at iaitv.